I stood outside, watching my family celebrate through a window. What came next changed everything and revealed the lies they'd been spreading for years. Thanksgiving was always kind of cursed for me. I'm Damon, 29, and most of my life I felt like the extra in a movie where my own family was the lead cast. Not disliked, just background noise. My sister Emily was the golden child, mom's best friend, always smiling in photos, valedictorian, engaged to the kind of guy who wears matching holiday sweaters unironically. Me? I was the quiet one, the sketchbook guy. According to my Uncle Randy, I never really grew up. He used to say that in front of people like it was a punchline. Randy acted like a sitcom dad, but without the laugh track, loud, bossy, obsessed with grilling and being the center of every conversation. He hosted Thanksgiving every year. And every year, I showed up because, well, that's what family's supposed to do, right? Except this year, no one said a word. No invite. No passive-aggressive group text. Not even mom's usual guilt-laced, "Are you coming?" Instead, I opened Instagram and saw it. Emily's feed lit up with photos, twinkling lights over a perfectly set table, turkey carved, wine glasses clinking. Everyone dressed like they were auditioning for a Macy's ad. It was planned, and I wasn't part of it. I stared at the post for a long time. At first, I told myself the usual excuses. Maybe they thought I'd just show up like always. Maybe someone forgot to hit send. But in my gut, I knew. Still, I got in my car and drove the 20 minutes out to Uncle Randy's house in Brookhaven, just outside Atlanta. I told myself that if it was all some weird oversight, I'd laugh it off and stay for dessert. But the second I turned onto that familiar cul-de-sac, the cold air outside was warmer than what I was about to walk into. Randy met me in the driveway. He didn't even wait for me to park. Just walked up with his arms folded over his chest like a bouncer outside a bar. "You weren't invited, Damon," he said casually, like we were discussing weekend weather. I just stared past him at the window. Through it, I saw Mom at the head of the table laughing. Emily beside her, eyes glued to her phone. And Kyle, my best friend since 5th grade, raising a glass with everyone like he belonged there. No one looked up. No one saw me. I didn't argue. Didn't beg. I just nodded once, turned around, and drove to the nearest gas station parking lot. I sat there, forehead on the steering wheel, the silence inside the car thicker than the holiday stuffing I never got to eat. And then I made a call. Not dramatic. Just necessary. It was to a friend, Jules. We used to collaborate on design gigs. But more importantly, she ran a big social page. That week, they were running a theme, Holiday Nightmares. She said, "Tell me everything." So I did. The driveway, the window, the silence. I didn't drop names. I just told the truth. "You cool if I post it anonymously?" she asked. I didn't even blink. "Go ahead." 20 minutes later, my phone blew up. First Kyle. Then Emily. Then my mom. Calls, texts, like a dam bursting. I hadn't even opened Instagram yet, but I knew. That story hit a nerve. Strangers poured in with sympathy, outrage, and their own cold Thanksgiving memories. Then Uncle Randy called. I let it ring. I just sat in that gas station parking lot, watching notifications flood in. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like background noise. I wasn't the quiet one anymore. I wasn't being the bigger person. I wasn't trying to understand people who'd stopped caring if I was even there. I was just done. And that's when it got real. A DM came in, from a last name I hadn't seen in years. It was Cassidy, my cousin who vanished after a falling out with Uncle Randy over some inheritance drama. The message was short. "Good for you. Been waiting for someone to finally say it." That's when I realized this wasn't just about one dinner. This was right years deep. This wasn't about turkey. It was about the silence I'd swallowed for decades. The pretending. The smiling through betrayal. And they weren't ready for what came next. When I finally pulled back into my apartment lot that night, the leftovers I had prepped that morning, just in case, were still waiting in the fridge. A sad little meal for one. Turkey sandwich, canned cranberry, a slice of grocery store pumpkin pie. I heated it up in silence. My phone buzzed so many times, it slid across the counter like it wanted to leave the room. At 8:52 p.m., the old family group chat lit up for the first time in weeks. "Mom, Damon, please call me." "Emily, what did you do?" "Kyle, dude, this is getting out of hand." "Uncle Randy, take that post down now." "You want to air dirty laundry?" "Fine, but don't drag the whole family into it." I didn't answer. For once, I let them sit in the discomfort. Let them twist. Because this time, they were squirming, and I wasn't rushing in with a mop and a sorry. Then, at 9:43, I got a text from Mom that made something shift. Mom, we didn't mean to hurt you. Randy said you were traveling. I thought you didn't want to come this year. I stared at the screen. Traveling? I'd been living 10 miles away all year. I hadn't posted a thing about going anywhere. It was a lie. Probably one Randy fed her to make my absence easier to explain. But what hit hardest wasn't the lie itself. It was that no one even bothered to check. Then Kyle chimed in with his own little guilt rinse. Kyle, man, I didn't know. I thought you were working or something. Your mom said you canceled. I should have asked. I'm sorry. Kyle and I had history. Sleeping bags on the living room floor, marathon Halo sessions, even that disastrous road trip to Tennessee where we both ended up in a Motel 6 eating gas station noodles. But lately he'd been drifting more into Emily and Randy's orbit. I chalked it up to adulthood. But maybe it was more. Maybe he'd started to believe their version of me. The flake, the emotional one, the outsider. I didn't respond. Letting them feel the weight of their own narrative for once felt strangely grounding. By 10:12 p.m., my friend Jules texted in all caps. Dude, it hit 40K shares. National page picked it up. When I opened Instagram, I saw screenshots of my post everywhere. Threads breaking down the manipulation, the exclusion, the emotional scapegoat dynamics. People dissecting my story like it was a sociological case study. And that's when the email started. An HR rep from a company I freelance for. A high school teacher. An old roommate. They all messaged the same thing. I think I know who this is. And I believe you. But one line in particular stuck with me. From a woman I hadn't spoken to in years. I always wondered how you stayed so quiet at those holiday parties. Now I get it. You were drowning. Then came Emily's call. I didn't pick up. She tried again. And again. Finally, a wall of text buzzed through so long I had to scroll twice. You're blowing this way out of proportion. You could have just messaged me. You're embarrassing the family. Randy's clients are asking questions. The neighbors are talking. You made one post, and now everyone thinks we're monsters. I read it twice. Then again. Nowhere in it. Not once did she ask how I felt. Not once did she say sorry. It wasn't about me being hurt. It was about them being uncomfortable. That's the thing about silence. It builds up like pressure in a pipe. You don't realize how close it is to bursting until suddenly, the whole system floods. My story was the floodgate. And for the first time, everyone who ever brushed me off, minimized my pain, or told me to be the bigger person was watching me become someone they couldn't ignore. And I hadn't even said their names. That's what scared them most. But it wasn't over. Not even close. At 11:47 p.m., I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. But something made me swipe. A woman's voice came through, trembling, nervous. Hi, is this Damon? Yeah. Who's this? It's Cassidy. I'm Randy's daughter. I froze. Cassidy, the one from his first marriage. The one no one ever talked about. The one who hadn't been to a family function since I was in high school. I saw the post, she said. And I think we need to talk. And just like that, the story that started as mine cracked wide open. I hadn't heard Cassidy's voice in over a decade. Not since that Christmas when she showed up with a bruised arm and left before dessert. After that, Uncle Randy stopped mentioning her altogether. If someone asked, he'd say something vague like, she made her choices. But now here she was, her voice cutting through my phone like a familiar tune half remembered. I didn't know if I should call, she said quietly. But when I saw your post, I knew it was you. The way you wrote it. It was like reading something I'd never had the words for. I didn't even know what to say. Her voice was soft, not weak. More like someone who'd spent years whispering their truth into a locked room. I finally said, you saw how far it spread? She gave a dry laugh. It's everywhere. But it wasn't the virality that got me. It was the part about the window. You standing there, watching them laugh without you. That image hit me like a freight train. She paused. You know what messed me up most? I thought I was the only one. And that was it. That one sentence cracked something loose inside me. I felt it. The weight I'd been carrying for years shift, just slightly. Because I thought I was the only one too. I thought maybe I was too sensitive, too aloof, too dramatic. That maybe I really didn't deserve to be at that table. But now here was Cassidy, from a totally different chapter of this family, saying she felt invisible too. That Randy had written her out of the story the same way he tried to fade me out. She asked, "Can we talk for real? There's stuff I've never said out loud before." So we talked. For hours. She told me about the time Randy refused to pay her tuition because she asked about their divorce settlement, about the gaslighting, the "you're ungrateful" lectures, how he told people she had a mental episode to explain her absence. She talked about how he'd rewrite history at every family gathering, how he convinced everyone she'd just drifted away, when really, he'd shut her out completely. But then she said something that cracked me in half. He taught me that silence was the price of peace. But it never bought me peace. It just bought him comfort. I didn't realize I was crying until I tasted the salt on my lip. Everything I had never said found its voice in her. It wasn't just about Randy anymore. It was Mom turning her back because conflict made her anxious. Emily laughing at jokes that tore me down. Carl pretending not to see me at the window. It was all of them. And the little boy inside me who learned to survive by making himself small. At around 3 a.m., Cassidy said, "If you ever want help telling more of the truth, I'm in. You're not alone in this anymore." That was the moment I knew this wasn't ending with one post. This was a reckoning. But what I didn't know was just how deep the cracks ran. Because the next morning, when I finally woke up, groggy and swollen-eyed, my inbox had exploded. There were journalists requesting interviews, podcast invites, even someone from a documentary series asking if I'd share my story anonymously on camera. But one message stood out. It was from a woman named Gina. She'd been at one of Randy's holiday parties 5 years ago. "I think we met briefly," she wrote. "I'm reaching out because something about your post felt familiar. I didn't want to say anything unless I was sure, but I think I have something you might need to see." Attached to her email was a photo, a candid shot of the party crowd. You could see Randy in the background, laughing, Carl standing near the drink table, and off to the right, barely in frame, was me, just standing there, alone, forgotten. She wrote, "I remember asking someone who you were. They said, 'Oh, that's just Damon. He's not really one of us.'" That phrase stuck to me like tar. Not really one of us. I didn't even remember that night, but apparently, they remembered me. As the leftover, the extra, the tag-along. But this time, I wasn't tagging along. That night, I opened a folder on my desktop and labeled it Receipts. I started compiling everything. Screenshots, old texts, voicemails. The Christmas invite Emily forgot to send me 2 years in a row. The message from Mom asking me not to ruin dinner because Randy had been in a bad mood. The audio of Randy at my college graduation dinner saying my design degree wasn't a real job. I wasn't planning to go public. Not yet. But I wasn't going to let them twist the story this time. And just when I thought I'd be the one holding the next card, the universe played its hand first. At 3:15 p.m., there was a knock at my door. No buzzer. Just 3 sharp, impatient knocks. I looked through the peephole. My stomach dropped. It was Mom. And standing right beside her, Uncle Randy. I didn't open the door right away. I stood behind it, watching them through the peephole like a ghost on the other side of the glass. Mom was wringing the strap of her purse like she was preparing a monologue she hoped would land. Randy was pacing, red-faced and twitchy like a volcano, trying to pretend it wasn't about to blow. I opened the door just a crack. Left the chain latched. "What do you want?" My voice came out calm. Too calm. Mom flinched like she hadn't expected me to sound so different. "So done. Damon, sweetheart," she said gently. "Can we come in? We just want to talk." Behind her, Randy scoffed. "We wouldn't need to talk if you hadn't posted that crap all over the internet," he snapped. "You could have just called. You could have invited me." I shot back, not even raising my voice. Randy opened his mouth, but I didn't give him the floor. "You know what? No, you're not coming in. Whatever you need to say, you can say it right here." Mom's eyes filled with something like pain. "Damon, please. This isn't you." "No," I said. "It's not the version of me you're used to. The one who swallows everything and says it's fine. That guy doesn't live here anymore." Randy stepped forward. I shut the door a little more, narrowing his view. "We're getting calls," he hissed. "People are asking questions. My business partner saw that post. Carol's crying in the guest room. You've made us into a public spectacle." "No," I said evenly. "You did that. I just told the truth." Mom's voice cracked. "We didn't know, Damon. We didn't think you wanted to come. Randy said you were traveling, and I believed him." I blinked. "You believed him?" I repeated. "You didn't even check with me?" Silence. Guilt settling in the wrinkles under her eyes. "I never said I was traveling," I continued. "But even if I had been, That doesn't explain why Kyle was there, or why Emily never said a word, or why I saw the dinner through the window before anyone thought to ask, hey, maybe Damon should be here. Randy's patience snapped. You're acting like some martyr, he barked. You're not the only person with problems, Damon. Grow up. And there it was, the sentence that sliced through every ounce of doubt I had left. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just closed the door. Hard. Final. The chain rattled. I stood behind it, forehead against the wood, while their voices muffled through the crack. Mom pleading, Randy swearing under his breath, then retreating footsteps down the hall. I didn't move. Not for a while. Just stood there, steady. My phone buzzed again. Jenna, what the hell is going on? Why is Mom crying? Why did you slam the door on Uncle Randy? And then, Jenna, fix this, Damon. But I didn't respond. Because by then, the ripple effect had turned into a tidal wave. The story had been picked up by a major digital magazine. A writer who specialized in toxic family dynamics featured it as the opening of a new piece on emotional scapegoating. She didn't know it was me, but the story was unmistakably mine. Over the next 48 hours, I got messages from people I hadn't seen since high school. DMs from second cousins, ex-coworkers, even a barista I used to sketch in my notebook during slow afternoons. Some messages were short. Proud of you. I never knew. Thank you for saying what so many of us can't. Others were pages long, detailing Thanksgiving betrayals of their own. Stories of family exile, favoritism, weaponized silence. People spilling truth like it had been waiting years to be heard. But the one message that broke me came from someone I never expected. My dad's sister, Aunt Donna, the one who stopped talking to my mom after the divorce. I hadn't seen her in over a decade. Her message read, I always thought you were different. I see now you weren't distant. You were surviving. Thank you for finally telling the truth. Surviving. That word clung to me like smoke in my clothes. Because that's what I had been doing for years. Not living. Not growing. Just surviving in a family that only knew how to love one version of me. The quiet, useful one. The one who didn't make waves. But now I had spoken, and they didn't know what to do with me. And as if the universe knew the weight of that transformation, I got a text from Cassidy the next morning. Cassidy, I've got something. Old emails from Randy to my mom. You need to see this. She wasn't exaggerating. When we met later that day in a coffee shop, she slid her laptop over to me. Inside were years of messages, emails dripping with manipulation, threats, control. But one line stuck out. A message Randy had sent years ago to Cassidy's mother. Damon's heading down the same path. Soft. Weak. He won't make it unless someone straightens him out. I stared at the screen. That wasn't just callous. That was premeditated. He'd been planting seeds for years, making me look unstable, unreliable, emotional, so that if I ever spoke up, no one would believe me. Gaslighting on a family-wide scale. I sat back, breath shallow, pulse roaring in my ears. Cassidy didn't say anything. She didn't have to. We both knew. This wasn't about one holiday. This was a lifetime of quiet erasure. And now I had proof. But I wasn't going to explode it all at once. No, I was going to be methodical. Because truth, when delivered slowly, is far more powerful than vengeance. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name on the envelope in my mother's handwriting. I opened it cautiously, expecting guilt or deflection, maybe another plea to keep the peace. But it wasn't that. It was short. 2 paragraphs. The ink shaky in spots. I read everything. I read the comments. I read what people said about mothers like me. At first I was furious. But then I remembered your face when you were little, how you used to shrink when people raised their voices, how you learned to disappear into corners. I didn't protect you. I let others define you. And I stood by while it happened. I didn't think I was doing harm. But silence is a kind of harm too. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know, I see it now. I'm sorry. I reread it 5 times. It wasn't enough, not by itself. But it was something. The first real acknowledgement I'd ever received from her. It didn't excuse anything. But it meant she saw me, maybe for the first time. Christmas came and went. I didn't go home. Instead, I spent it with Cassidy and a few friends who'd also gone no contact or low contact with their families. We ordered Thai food, played cards, watched terrible Netflix rom-coms, and nobody cried in the bathroom or made passive-aggressive digs about who wasn't calling whom. It was peaceful, uncomplicated, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to explain myself to anyone. I didn't check my phone for messages that never came. I wasn't waiting for an apology that wouldn't arrive. I was just free. On New Year's Eve, I posted something on the same page that had shared my original story. It wasn't a bombshell. It was a reflection. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop showing up where you're not wanted. Families can love you and still hurt you. And you can love them and still choose to walk away. Boundaries aren't punishments. They're preservation. Silence isn't peace. It's pressure. And sometimes, speaking up isn't revenge. It's survival. It didn't go viral like the first post. But that wasn't the point. It reached the people it needed to reach, including me. I didn't hear from Randy again. He'd blocked me. Probably too busy repairing his image with clients and neighbors. Jenna eventually sent a message that simply read, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I want to understand. If you're open to talking someday, I'll be here." It was short, but it felt genuine. I didn't respond right away. Maybe I will one day, but not yet. Kyle and I spoke once. He asked if we could go back to the way things were. I told him the truth, that I didn't trust the way things were. That the version of me who used to laugh off the slights and stay quiet at the table, he wasn't coming back. And Kyle said, "I get it." We both knew what that meant. But that was okay, because I had something better now. On the next Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner at my place. The guest list was small. Cassidy was there. Jules came with her girlfriend. A couple of my friends from the local art collective brought board games and weird pies. No one raised their voice. No one made jokes at someone else's expense. No one got up to leave early because someone wasn't in the mood. And when someone spilled cranberry sauce on the couch, we laughed, handed them a towel, and kept eating. No one was left outside. No one was told to go home. No one had to earn their place at the table. And as I looked around that night, seeing the mix of misfits, creatives, survivors, and stubbornly kind people I'd found along the way, I realized this is what family is supposed to feel like. Not performance, not punishment, just presence. And maybe, just maybe, peace.